up, flex, thumb down now. Check, no drip this. Wet. Tell 'em run it up. No sleep. Might crash, might wreck. But first die. Stretch. Tell 'em run it up.
Let me get my water for this one, family. What's good, patrons? What's good, family? Saka Fett in the world new. Peace, love, and ascension to all my patrons, all my family, man. Does Nation, what's good? Look, man, you see I'm jumping out my chair right now. I'm tight pipe, right? In this video, this is part 1 of my series that I named African Encounters with Extraterrestrials. Now, by now, patrons, you've seen some of my other videos. As you guys know, I refer to my notes on my phone. I refer to my notebook right here. And as always, this video is not to convince you of anything, but simply to present something to your mind to make you go do your research and come to your level of enlightenment, your truth, and figure out, you know, what makes sense to you, what resonates with you, what you think. As always, man, yeah, I see the cheeks, man. You see me smiling, you see the cheeks. This is something that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time. One of the patrons actually requested that I talk about this in video format, you feel me? So let's get it. African Encounters with Extraterrestrials. Now, obviously on my channel, on the Patreon, I give a lot of perspective from the African because I am African. Alright, so as I said, this is part 1 of a series. The reason I'm breaking it down is because this is a lot of material. It's very, very, very long. Some of these clips I have are 3, 4, 5+ hour interviews, etc. So just to let you know right now, some of these clips that I'm gonna put maybe 20 minutes. You might have to take your notes. You might have to write it down to go do your research. You might want to look it up, bookmark these names, bookmark these tribes that I'm about to tell you. Like, it's a lot of stuff, all right? So this is part 1, African Encounters. All right, man, let's get into it. So, you know, I already gave my disclaimer. This is not to convince you of anything, but rather to present the information to you for you to find your truth. This is part 1 of the series. Okay, now, as we dive in, man, I gotta say this. All throughout the world, all throughout civilization, there points there's evidence, and they point to the presence of alien races interacting with human beings. Whenever you talk about this to the average person, they're gonna look at you like you crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, like, what are you talking about? Aliens, extraterrestrials? You know what I'm saying? You're crazy. But first, we must simply look at the definition of extraterrestrial. Yeah, I know I'm very big on the etymology of words. I'm very big on just words and breaking them down and defining them to the foundation so that we can get a better understanding of what is going on. All right, so I'm about to pull up the definition of extraterrestrial, right? Okay, boom, mainly. Okay, so this is it right here, right? So when you look up the definition of extraterrestrial, it simply says of or from outside the earth or its atmosphere. Okay, so, and then as a noun, of course, it says a hypothetical or fictional being from outer space, especially an intelligent one. All right, here's my thing. When we're talking about from outside the earth or its atmosphere, I'm gonna break it down for you guys why I read this definition to you, because you have to, especially when we're talking in English, you have to understand a lot of these things are, the way English is very crafty, very sneaky. So later on in this lecture, I'm gonna talk a little bit about dimensional perspectives and stuff like that, because I've already spoken about dimensions in my previous lectures and what they are, right? And you see the references of aliens in African literature, Chinese literature, you see India, even in the Bible there's references to extraterrestrials. Okay, now that you know that extraterrestrial simply means outside of the earth or its atmosphere. Now, I've already told you in previous lectures that the Bible was written by Freemasons. This is why in the Masonic Lodge they have the Bible, the Quran, the Torah. This is why they have these books, because all of these gods are one. Religion was made to deceive the masses, to lower your vibration, to lock up your consciousness. And the reason why a lot of people don't experience a lot of these supernatural phenomena or all of these occultic, which simply means hidden experiences, is simply because your consciousness is not there. And so I've spoken to you guys previously about how whenever something is brought to your attention, you start to see it more. For example, if you are in the market for a car, you know what I'm saying, let's say you want a Honda Civic, and then this car has finally been brought to your attention. Let's say that you want a white Honda Civic. Now all of a sudden, as you're driving home, you start to see more white Honda Civics. You start to notice these things more often. You start to notice these things, right? This is because whenever something is brought to your consciousness, now your reality reflects that which of what you have perceived, okay? I told you guys about the biosphere. I told you about how subconsciously our lives are governed by the subconscious mind. I told you how we think the same thoughts every single day. Now that we're all caught up from all of the previous lectures, I can go in. I could dive balls deep in this lecture, all right? So, boom. Boom. I want to read a couple of verses for y'all that talks about extraterrestrials, right? So the first verse I'm gonna pull up for y'all, man. Hold up. The first verse I'm gonna pull up for y'all is gonna be Ephesians 6 verse 12, right? And it says, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." Heavenly realms. Heavenly realms. So real quick, let's define what a realm is, right? Because these niggas think they slick. Let's define what a realm is, right? Boom. It says a kingdom. When you look at the synonyms, for example, it says a field or domain of activity or interest, a sphere, field, department, arena, world, province, territory, zone, region. Why is this important? It's important because if you watch my previous lectures when I broke down what a dimension is. For example, I'm sitting in front of you right now. You're viewing me straight up. This is a dimension that you're seeing me in. If I move over here, that's another perspective. I'm now in another dimension according to how you can perceive me. I'm now in another dimension. And so all heaven is another dimension. It's important to understand this concept. All heaven is, all paradise is another perspective of consciousness. Okay? But I digress, man. So when we're reading these verses, a lot of people like to read them as an allegory, and then some people like to take them literal. Which one is it? Are we being literal? Are we reading it as a parable? Now, the second verse I want to pull up for y'all is Ezekiel 1 verse 4 and actually 1 verse 6. But hold up. Let me pull up the 1 verse 4 first. It says, "I looked and I saw a windstorm coming out of the north, an immense..." Oh, this one is important. This one is important because of the clip I'm about to... Alright, you know what? I'm getting ahead of myself. This one is important because of the clip I'm going to show you about a great spiritual healer called Credo Mutwa. But it says, "I looked and I saw a windstorm coming out of the north, an immense cloud with flashing lightning and surrounded by brilliant light. The center of the fire looked like glowing metal." Next one I'm gonna read for y'all, man. Man, y'all gotta stop playing with me, man. Y'all gotta stop playing with me. Alright, so Ezekiel 1 verse 6. but each of them had 4 faces and 4 wings. Boom. The very last one I'm gonna read for y'all is Psalms 97.6. Man, I'm trying to make this quick for y'all. You know what I'm saying? All right, boom. The heavens proclaim his righteousness, and all peoples see his glory. Now, why is this part right here important, right? It says, because a lot of people will just blow right over this. Notice how I said a lot of people, right? Meaning people of plural. People is plural on this planet. People is plural in itself. I don't think y'all hear me. People is plural of itself. But over here in the Bible it says peoples. Why would they say peoples with an S instead of people? Because if I say people on this planet are stupid, you already know I'm talking about everybody on this planet. But when I say peoples, what am I talking about? I'm talking about more than one race, the human race. I'm talking about different races of people. So it's very crucial to understand this. The heavens proclaim his righteousness, and all peoples see his glory. So this is something very sneaky that goes over a lot of people's heads. We're talking about peoples, different races of humanoid beings, different races of beings and entities, period. Okay? And so the reason why I'm structuring the lecture this way is because I wanted to break down extraterrestrial. I've spoken prior to this lecture about dimensions and perspectives, okay? And it's important to understand how all of these things coincide, right? So boom. Now, there are no coincidences. I told y'all there is no such thing as a coincidence. Everything happens in divine timing because the universe is balanced. Mayat. Everything comes back to Mayat, balance. This is a universal law. This is why we literally have to exhale when we take our first breath, or just breathe in general. We gotta, and we can't hold on to the breath. We can't hold on to nothing. We gotta breathe it out, because everything is give and you receive balance. Now, why am I bringing this up, right? As I go on with this lecture, you're gonna see that you're not crazy and how everything coexists. When you think outside the box, society calls you crazy. There are things that you have known, seen, and experienced since childhood. I spoke about in our DNA video how every human beings, we have these abilities. We are literally the gods of our reality. We manifest things according to what we perceive. I told you guys this already, right? And so society has conditioned you to disassociate yourself from your higher self, from the consciousness that is inside of this vessel, and disassociate yourself from your thoughts and causing you to doubt yourself. Now, we know for a fact that there are a group of people on this planet that hide knowledge on this planet. Now, the vast majority of this planet lives on a 3rd dimension, 3D. They only live in 3D. They're not aware that there's other dimensions. Okay? So this is why when people snap out of the matrix and have spiritual experiences, for example, when people go to ayahuasca retreats, when people take mushrooms, when they get high, when they meditate and just have supernatural experiences, right? Such as astral projection, when they come back, they talk about beings that they've encountered in these other realms, in these other dimensions. Now, we already know that extraterrestrial simply means out of this world. Now, if you pull up the definition of Earth, it's gonna just say, you know, of this planet, this world. So we're talking about this world. Well, whenever they say world, they're talking about this world. So anything outside of the world could mean a different perspective within your mind. It could mean a dream. It could mean astral projection. And we're constantly in contact with different beings, okay? Whether we're in the spiritual world, whether we're in the 3D or not. So it's important to understand these concepts for where we're about to go, because this is some dense shit that I really want you guys to think about. I want you to think about these things, and really do your research to figure out what resonates with you. All right. So now that I've, you know, explained these things to you guys, that Allah dimension is a perspective. What I'm about to show you right here is the late great Credo Mutwa, a South African Sangoma or spiritual healer. One of the ancestors now, he departed this year in 2020 at the age of 98. And man, just one of the great healers, one of the ancestors, man. I'm gonna let you guys watch this because this joint is crazy, right? This shit is crazy. But before we watch this clip, I want to read a quick portion of an article just to kind of introduce you guys to who Credo Mutwa is. So I'm about to pull up the article really quick for y'all, because I'm sure many of you watching this right now have heard of David Icke or David Icke. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but I'm sure that y'all have heard of David Icke, right? Well, it's funny because David Icke actually got a lot of his knowledge from Mutwa, and he traveled to South Africa many times to interview and learn from Mutwa and the ancestors. Boom. So the title of this article is Reptilian Aliens in Africa. African Shaman Shares Hidden History, right? Credo Mutwa is a famous African Zulu Sangoma traditional healer from South Africa who has had an ancient esoteric knowledge from his ancestors and predecessors passed down to him that helps to illuminate ancient history. More interesting than this, though, is the Zulu elder has held personal experience that corroborates this knowledge he was told. And that knowledge includes what we popularly, excuse me, I know English is not my first language, popularly referred today as reptilians, as he calls Chitale, ruling over Earth. Now, we've heard of these concepts before. That lineup is fresh, don't stop playing with me. The lineup is clean me. Hey, man. I know y'all see me today, alright? Stop playing with me. But anyway, you know, I got the bean pie out, man, chill. In fact, much of David Icke's, and if I'm saying his name wrong, I'm sorry. David Icke. Much of David Icke's central thesis is derived from Mutwa's knowledge. In the interview with Rick Martin, Mutwa explained that the Zulus claim that many thousands of years ago, there arrived out of the skies a race of people who were like lizards. People who could change shape at will. We're talking about extraterrestrial technology. We're still using fossil fuels and gas here. We're talking about beings that are literally using zero point energy, anti-gravity energy, you know what I'm saying? Things that Nikola Tesla talked about, things that the ancient Kemites talked about. We're talking about all types of technology. So of course, these motherfuckers can shapeshift, and I could be a motherfucking alien. Straight up. I can literally be an agent for some freaking planet 1195 2ZQ Neptune or something. So you got to understand, when people ask why haven't they contacted us or whatever, oh, you better believe these motherfuckers are in contact with some people. They could be sitting right in front of you on the bus and and you wouldn't even know. Straight up. You got a whole nother intergalactic beast. Yo, you got a whole nother intergalactic beast sitting in front of you on the bus talking about, hey man, next stop. And you wouldn't even know. This is not something that's like fake. Like, we talking about real genetics here. We talking about stuff that you can tangibly see right now till this day. Evidence of extraterrestrial alien life on this planet. Alien encounter. In ancient Egypt, they depicted it on the walls. You see all of these Africans with elongated skulls. We see the depictions, the artwork with these beings, these figures that had elongated heads. I'm talking about heads that look like a jelly bean that go far back to the side. We're talking about different phenotypes that just look outside of this world. There are creatures on this planet that cause you to think, where did these creatures come from? It just doesn't make sense. In many movies, they depict Africans as extraterrestrials, and I don't know, like, this stuff is so interesting when...
Peace, love, and life, family. To get access to my raw, uncut content, swing by my Patreon at patreon.com/DudleyDuds. On my Patreon, we are a tight-knit community dedicated to personal development and overall ascension. Due to YouTube's policy and guidelines, a lot of my educational content that's waking people up cannot be posted. So consider becoming a member today, and let's get it poppin'.